Because I think when you're feeling that transcendence, when you're in your zone, that's the only way you can shift. You can shift from the fear to, hang on, no, I'm okay. Because even though the pain was still there, there was a light that came in, and it's that shift that Zumba gave me. It gave me the possibility. It put the light in the darkness.
Can you believe that it is January 1st, 2019? Another chapter in our stories and our journeys is about to unfold. And I don't know about you, but I'm excited and I'm ready for what 2019 is going to bring. 2018 was a year of growth and transformation and learning. And I'm excited to build upon what we started in 2019. And I'm not big on resolutions, but I am big on setting intentions. And my biggest intention for me, for us, for this space, for this podcast, for 2019 is just to continue this journey of authenticity, transformation, growth, love, and joy. There's so much more to learn. There's so much more to do. And I'm excited and I'm happy that we can do this together. And what are the odds that the first Seek the Joy Tuesday of 2019 just happened to be on January 1st, 2019? So welcome back to Seek the Joy podcast. Happy Seek the Joy Tuesday. I'm your host, Sydney Weiss. And on the podcast this week, guys, is Josette Tkacik. And Josette is a mom, she's a healer, she has been a dancer her entire life, and she is really an internationally known and renowned Zumba instructor, and for good reason. And you guys will hear it in this week's episode. She is truly incredible, and she shares with us her story of healing, the diagnosis of advanced and severe rheumatoid arthritis that totally changed her life, and her decision to turn within for answers and really heal herself. We have a beautiful conversation about listening to your inner voice, paying attention to the signs that the universe gives us, and choosing to live your life from a space of alignment. We also chat about Zumba and the role that Zumba and dance has played in her life and her healing, the magic that is really infused in her classes in Santa Barbara. I mean, wait until you guys hear about these classes and how she continues to choose her light to live a life that's really beyond her wildest dreams. Before we dive into this week's new episode, I have to share with you the iTunes review of the week, and this week it comes from Birdie Fam, and it says, the most inspiring podcast out there. I absolutely adore Seek the Joy. It's an incredibly uplifting and motivational podcast that gives the boost I need to start my day. Sydney is filled with so much knowledge and delivers astoundingly rich content via powerful guests and through her own personal wisdom. I must also add her voice is so soothing, which brings a sense of calm and tranquil energy while listening. Highly recommend this to those who are searching for ways to find joy in your life. Birdie fam, thank you so much for this rating and review of the podcast. I'm so grateful. I'm so glad you found the show and that you're enjoying it. And it's been incredible, guys, to hear what you think about Seek the Joy podcast and the content and the guests and what is shared. And I'm truly just really honored to be able to do this and to share this with you guys. So if you have been enjoying Seek the Joy podcast, it would be amazing if you would leave us a rating and review on Apple iTunes or really wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. When you do, make sure to take a screenshot of your review and send it to Sydney at seekthejoypodcast.com. I will send you our guide for infusing more joy into your life, as well as some Seek the Joy podcast stickers. And it's a really wonderful way for us to connect and for me to also thank you personally for just being part of this community. All right, guys, that's it. This is an episode and a conversation that you are not going to want to miss, and I couldn't imagine a better way to kick off 2019 than with this conversation with Josette. So I hope you enjoy it, and when you tune in, make sure to connect with us on our social media. We are at Seek the Joy Podcast everywhere. I cannot wait to hear what you think. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Josette Tkacik.
Hi, my name is Josette Tkacik. I am a mom, a healer, a lover of life, and a dancer of the soul. And I'm super excited to be here.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I love what you just said, a dancer of the soul. I love that because your history is you've been a dancer your whole life, right? From the time you were really young.
I was born to be a dancer. I stopped dancing by the time I was 17 professionally. I didn't really fit the mold. I was at Joffrey, New York, and I was really made it to the top levels, but at the very ultimately, when going professional as a ballet dancer, at least back then in the late 80s, there was a body type that was preferred, and I'm 5'3.5", and I've always been that 1/2 has been really important to me.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I get it.
And I'm curvy, so they were taping me up quite a bit to try and hide my breasts, and it just got to the point where I realized that they were kind of saying, to go further, your body has to be a little different.
That must have been really hard, right? In the moment to hear that at such a young age, like the way you look in the world, who you are, your maybe not necessarily your identity, but maybe to an extent your identity is just not accepted here. I mean, that had been really difficult.
Yeah, it's funny because it became part of my whole story, and part of my journey was that pre-programming that I got at 15, 16, that you have to be to look a certain way or else you're not accepted. Yeah, that was, I didn't know it at the time, but sure, that actually kind of molded a lot of the choices I made from then.
Yeah, and I can imagine that must have been really difficult.
Yeah.
And so I would love to kind of jump in to your story and who you are and how you ended up where you are today. And what landed you in Santa Barbara doing Zumba? I mean, where is a good place to start to talk about all of that?
Well, I suppose the first place to start would be how sick I was.
Yeah.
I was actually living in South Florida and in 2011 and had been diagnosed with advanced severe rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease that they say there's no known cure. And the best that they try and do is shut down your immune systems. They have a thing called biologics, which like Humira, they basically are made to shut down your immune system so that your immune system doesn't eat up your joints, which is what RA does.
Yeah.
And so I had actually gone to college and lived in Santa Barbara prior. I loved Santa Barbara. But at the time, my husband he's a professional polo player from Argentina. So we were traveling with our young baby, and that was what was going on. But I had not danced for quite some time. And I think that was actually part of the reason why I got sick.
So when you were diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, you said it was kind of sudden and onset. Did you have any symptoms beforehand or just kind of appeared out of nowhere?
No, it really did appear out of nowhere. I woke up at maybe 2-3 o'clock in the morning and my knees were the size of grapefruits and I was in excruciating pain. My neck hurt, everything hurt. It literally felt like I had just been run over by a Mack truck.
Oh my God.
And I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And my husband rushed me to the hospital. They did a bunch of tests. They kind of couldn't figure out what was going on with me.
Yeah.
And then finally, ER doctors aren't really made for finding and digging deeper. So they sent me to a couple specialists after that. And it was maybe 3 specialists later, they realized that it was rheumatoid arthritis.
Wow. Did you have any idea as to why this was happening? I found that sometimes with our health, when things pop up and appear, there's another reason for it. And yeah, so I'd be interested to hear from you. Did you have any idea, I guess, why this was happening, or in hindsight, maybe why this was all happening?
I knew at that moment exactly why it was happening. And it was because I had even spent nights crying, hoping that I didn't get sick because I was under so much stress. I wasn't happy. I wasn't living the life I was here for. My only light was my child, my son. My husband was struggling. We were fighting all the time. It was just a really, really dark time for me. And I had given up basically everything that I wanted to be, a dancer, a performer. Everything that made me happy was gone, except my son. So I knew from maybe a year of stress and fighting with my husband and not being happy and not living the life that I wanted to live and blaming everybody else for it except myself.
Yeah.
I realize now that it has to come out physically.
Yeah.
If it doesn't heal emotionally.
Yeah, that stress really manifests in our body. And then there's all that other layers of emotions and difficulties. And what you said too about that you weren't following, I think you said you weren't following the path or the purpose for as to why you're here.
Right.
And so when you did start to pivot and follow what it is you feel you're here for, it sounds like it kind of, you started to shift and you returned to dancing. And so it's interesting when we're not following that path, when we're not listening to those little pings or those signs that kind of come through, our bodies and our lives are forced to shift. If we're not doing it ourselves, something happens to interrupt us and force us to make that shift. And it sounds like that definitely happened to you.
Yeah. And I think you probably know this better than anybody because you have such an amazing podcast going on and you really dig deep, and you'll find that most people will end up getting the little taps on the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't listen to the taps on the shoulder, you get a Mack truck. And
you do.
That's
so
what
true. It's like
me.
a little rock that becomes a boulder that just will run you over if you're not listening. Yeah.
The universe is like, excuse me, I've been trying to reach you. So
you're
maybe
not picking up the
work.
phone. So I'm going to hit you with something massive. Yeah. And it's in those moments where you're forced to stop and evaluate. And it's so interesting because I've noticed more and more it appears with our health. Those moments appear with our health because it's the one thing, in my experience at least, that can really stop you and force you to slow down and reevaluate and take that time to heal and then pivot.
Exactly. Yeah.
So then what was healing like for you? You had this diagnosis, you're in excruciating pain. It sounds like, your joints and your muscles and your whole body was just shutting down. I mean, what was the healing journey like?
Well, it was 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That was for sure.
Yeah.
It was a lot of pain. I was scared because everyone, doctors, family, parents, everyone said, just get on the drugs. What are you doing? They're telling you you're going to be in a wheelchair. Why are you not? I didn't fill any of the prescriptions. I didn't do it. Mostly because I was still nursing my son. And I just said, I don't want him to pay for my inability to figure this out. So I kind of looked at my husband and I said, okay, we're laying down all the arms right now. I am not fighting with anyone. You have my white flag. Not that I'm giving up, but that I just can't fight. I have to take care of myself because I definitely had the realization that I was good to no one if I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
I needed to be, certainly wasn't the person I came here to be.
Yeah.
So that it was all the epiphanies in the dark moments that were quite healing, because that's when I started to realize, wait a minute, I've been walking and talking something that's not authentic. That's not who I want to be. That I've been living a mediocre life, and that's not for any of us. And it certainly wasn't for me.
What a brave choice to decide not to fill or take the prescriptions, especially when they're telling you like, the prognosis here is grim. You most likely will not walk again. Was there something just in you that knew, like, I could find another way out? I could figure this out myself without the drugs, without the prognosis that they were giving me?
Yes, absolutely. And that was where I think it was in those moments that I became open to listening, to hearing the inner voice that is always there. It's ever present. We just have a tendency to block it out because we're so focused on what's happening outside of us that we can't, and we don't, and we kind of totally like put our la 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 la. We can't hear we can't hear the inner voice. And it was in those moments where that inner voice became very loud. And I think the universe has a way of giving you that. There's that window that opens when the door is closed, and that voice, that instinct said, you can get out of this. You got to get to Santa Barbara. I had no idea why I was supposed to go to Santa Barbara. My husband was like, why the heck are we moving to Santa Barbara? It's the most expensive place. There's only seasonal work for me. What are we going to do? And I kept saying, I don't know. So I sold everything we had. I sold all my heirloom jewelry, all my mom's rings that she had given me, everything I had, all our china we got for our wedding, everything, just so we could get the plane ticket, pay first month's rent, and figure things out. And I said, I don't know, but at this point, the only thing I'm listening to is my voice inside.
Wow. Talk about having a level of trust, right? That sounds like you may have not had before by looking within and listening to that voice. And so as you started to look within and pay attention, and did you start to feel like you started to get to know yourself again, or your identity, or who you wanted to be, the more you started to listen and pay attention and sell those heirlooms and book that plane flight and end up in Santa Barbara?
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. The more I listened to that voice, the inner voice, my soul, whatever you want to call it, it became almost, and I hate to say this because everybody wants to say that this was really hard. It became easy. It became almost like they say, going with the flow. It was like, as soon as I made the choice and listened, the doors just opened. Like the condo that I've always wanted to live in Santa Barbara just came, like they called me and they said, do you want this condo? It's never been available before. And I thought, how would they know I wanted to move to Santa Barbara? It was
incredible.
So yeah, it was literally pieces of God just dropping and saying, here you go, here you go, here you go. So I knew something magical was happening. And at the same time, I had already changed my diet. I had gone, vegan. I was raw vegan the first year, and I was already starting to feel better. So I knew I was onto something.
I love what you said, that it became easier, because when we talk about these journeys, when we talk about following our path or our passions, a lot of the conversation is about how difficult it was, how hard it was. You had to go through the mud to get to the other side. I love what you said, though, that it became easier. You were no longer fighting against the tide or the current. You were swimming with it. You were, for lack of a better word, in alignment, right, with what you were supposed to do. And it became easier. And I think that's such an important message to share and show that experience, that it doesn't have to be so hard once you start really doing and being, who you are supposed to be. But the journey to figuring that out is the process, is sometimes where it's hard, but once you start following it, it becomes easier.
It's beautifully said. And alignment is everything. Alignment is everything. And I think that the hardest thing is the resistance and the not trusting and the not believing in yourself and the voice and your soul. That's hard.
It is hard. And I love what you just said about resistance, because oftentimes we can make that decision for ourselves. We're going to pay attention to our gut instinct. We're going to create a foundation or a relationship with our soul and that in our inner voice, but we still have that outside noise, that outside opinions, what the external world thinks. And I think sometimes that's where a little bit of the resistance comes from too, because that path that is for you often looks different from what the outside world knows or expects or teaches. And so when you were in the middle of that, I mean, how were you able to block that out and fight against that resistance to keep, moving forward this way?
Well, that started when I started to meditate, to be honest with you. I got a clear download in a meditation, and meditation was always really hard for me. I think I could meditate for maybe 10 seconds, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. I got to get out. I got stuff to do.
I get it. It's hard to quiet your mind that way, or allow the chatter to go, but just to still sit there.
Right. So that became like a committed practice where I said no. And I started with 30 seconds, and I was, maybe a month into it, and I could actually do it for 10 minutes. And so it's a muscle that you do, but I got a clear download, about block everybody else out, block them all out. It's irrelevant what anybody else thinks right now. You need to do this. And even when I started teaching Zumba, you can imagine, here I am with this disease. I couldn't go up and down the stairs. My husband had to help me to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. I mean, I couldn't walk. So I said, I have to go teach Zumba. And that was it for everybody. They were like, you've totally lost your mind. Like, there's no way.
There's no way. You can't walk, you can't move, but you're going to go and stand up on a stage or in front of a group of people and teach Zumba. Yeah, I can see how they thought that way.
Yeah, no, I was totally nuts. And even when I started, I only had 3 students, and I thought, this is never going to work. The city of Santa Barbara, which is where I started working for them, they just said, we got to cancel you. You hardly move. And I thought, oh, I know, but I couldn't tell them why. I didn't tell anybody.
Right.
And then I just, again, in a meditation, I kind of said, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but it feels a little funny right now. Help me out. And there it is. It was like a door opened. I started to have instincts to do some marketing on Facebook and really, go after it. And my classes started building.
How long was the healing process, by the way? Because at this point you're in Santa Barbara and you're teaching and you're still having a hard time, really moving your body. How long was the process between really the diagnosis and then when you started to, feel more like you again?
1 year. It was about 1 year when I went into complete remission, which is for RA. I could tell by the mornings, because when you wake up in the morning, it's so excruciating. Yeah. It's, the joints are swollen. So there was the morning, and I'll never forget it, when I woke up and there was nothing, no signs of anything. And I was jumping up and around the house going, oh my God, it's gone, it's gone. And it wasn't until 2016 that there's a internist, a board certified internist in my class. And she kept saying, I need your blood. I need your blood. I need to find out what's going on because I've never seen this before. And aren't you curious? And I said, no, I'm not really curious. I mean, I know it's not there anymore. And she said, but that's not possible. And so she took my blood and sent it down to UCLA and talked to some people and came up to me and said, well, we're declaring you a medical miracle because it's not in remission. It's not there anymore. It's gone.
Wow. That's incredible. So and when you heard that, did it help solidify or give you that sense of validation? Like, I trusted myself and now I'm here.
It did. I mean, at that point too, that's 6-7 years already into it. And I 5 years into it rather. And I kind of already knew, I knew it was gone. And I knew that I had done this. I was frustrated that I couldn't get other people, meaning other people like the Arthritis Foundation, stuff like that, to get them to understand, look, I'm not a medical miracle. Everybody can do this. This is something that should be, I don't know why healing isn't on CNN. Like it should be everywhere because it was so painful and people don't need to be in pain and they don't need to be on pharmaceuticals. But that's not a message most will hear.
No, it isn't. And listen, I mean, I think that we're really starting to realize that healing is holistic. So it's mind, body, and soul. It's not just, take this list of prescriptions. There is a mental and emotional component to it. And so just to kind of recap, I guess, the way you healed yourself was through diet and lifestyle. So it sounds like you went raw vegan. Did you stay raw vegan or?
No. My husband, I think, like I said, he's from Argentina, so that's hard in my house. He's a good pasta meat eating gaucho, and I don't eat meat and I don't eat pasta. What I did is I added fish, I added organic chicken from time to time. I don't eat raw anymore. I love, cooking my veggies and barbecuing my veggies and grilling. I'm 80% green still. But I've added the chicken and the fish to keep the proteins for me going.
Yeah. And so another component was obviously lifestyle. So reducing your stress, and you picked up a meditation practice. Was there anything else you did, for anyone that's listening, whether they're suffering from rheumatoid arthritis or whatever it might be, that really helped you, that maybe they could also incorporate, in their life?
Well, remembering what gets me in the zone, remembering what I love, because I believe that, when we're doing what we love, that's it. That's what we're here for. I know that we're meant to be happy. I know that we're meant to feel good. And so for me, dancing is what I love. And definitely that crazy idea to start dancing again was the key, because it puts me in my zone and nothing can touch me when I'm there. And I think that every single one of us has that we have something that we love that makes us lose track of time, that we're in a zone.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And it's so cool, once you realize what it is and you connect to it and you keep choosing, to go back to it and follow it. It has an incredible impact, I think, on your overall well-being, but also, every aspect of your health and just following your passions, I think, is a total game changer. But for so many, we're still stuck in that process of, figuring out what those things are.
Right. And I was too. I mean, that's why I was so unhappy. I was just trying to figure out how to pay the rent, as a lot of people do. We just kind of go, okay, wait a second. We have to survive. Don't be ridiculous. I can't do what I love. I have to survive. I have to get a car and pay rent and live and eat. And it was just kind of funny. I realized that, looking back, I'm more successful now than I was in anything I ever did before. And it was because I started doing what I loved.
I love that. And I would love to talk to you a little bit about what it is you love, which is dance and Zumba. And I want to talk to you a little bit about your classes, because from what I understand from my friend Julie Gordon, and Julie, I'm sure you're listening to this, it's more than just dance. It's more than Zumba. There's this kind of spirit and energy of the class. It's powerful. It's filled with your energy, and it sounds like it's just electric. So what are your classes like, and what has the experience been like?
Well, it's been cultivating love and energy, and I got to just say, Julie is extraordinary, and I'm very grateful for her. She's such a beautiful friend. It is energy, that's for sure, because what I've been able to do through the practice, not only of meditation, but of going in and teaching these classes, is to find that bliss and that joy that makes me happy, and literally try and transmute it to everyone that's in the room. And somehow I have been able to be an open channel for that. I always say it's not really me. I'm just an open channel. I'm a willing and happy participant.
Yeah.
But I get out of the way. I really get out of the way. When the music goes on, I have a mantra that says, it's all yours. I don't know who I'm talking to, but it just, it's bigger than me. It's more beautiful than I could ever create, but I'm happily allowing the flow to flow through me. And it is palpable. I mean, you feel it. I know there's something magical. And even after classes, I'm like, wow, I can't even believe it's so much more than just going in and dancing. And it's very difficult to explain if you can't, when you go and experience it. I had a woman come to me after class one time. She was soaking wet and she was crying, and she looked at me and she goes, what the hell just happened to me? Then I said, are you okay? She goes, this was the most amazing experience of my life. And I said, oh, good. I know and I think that's why there's so many people coming. They know that something special happens in there, and it is energy. And again, I'm lucky to be part of it.
Yeah, you're the conduit of the magic that kind of flows through that room. And it sounds like the classes themselves, is it safe to say that it's kind of a culmination of who you are and everything that you've been through, and you just you share that through the movement?
Yeah, I mean, it was also the perfect storm. I mean, I have the best background as a technique dancer ever. I did summers at Juilliard. I studied at Joffrey.
Wow.
My mom is from Haiti. So when I grew up, we were doing a merengue all around the house. That's all she ever did. So when Zumba came into my life, it was no need for technique. Dance your heart out. Listen to really fast merengues and salsas and all the fun music, and let loose. So it really was, I feel so blessed to be able to be a Zumba instructor. And I've shared this so much with the CEOs of Zumba as well, that I'm just really, really lucky to have, it was almost as if my entire life had built me up for this, but I never knew it.
Wow. That's incredible, because often, we go through experiences in our lives, we start doing something, but we have no idea where the end point is, or even what the middle point is. We often show up to, when we do things, not knowing that it's preparing us for something else and preparing us for something more. And it sounds like that's definitely the case for you with Zumba. I mean, at that young age of 17 and being told, your body was not meant for ballet and that form of dance. I mean, did you have any idea that you would end up teaching and living Zumba?
No. But I tell you what, there's a video of me when I'm 3 years old, and somebody asks, what are you going to be when you grow up? And I have my hand on my hip and I say, well, isn't that obvious? I'm going to be dancing and making people happy. And it was, now that brings me to tears, because I knew I knew
You
back
knew.
then. I had forgotten, and I got a good smack in the face reminder, but I'm never going to forget again.
I love that. And there's an inherent joy in Zumba because it's so fun and electric and you're moving your body. And so what is that like connecting to that joy of Zumba for you? And did it play a strong role in your healing journey too?
Yeah, I got dragged to a Zumba class in South Florida by a friend who just couldn't see me miserable anymore. It was actually before the disease hit me.
Yeah.
And I remember literally standing stunned in this class. The class also was very full, maybe 50 people, and it was led by a Brazilian woman. And I thought, oh my God, I was laughing so hard and I was crying because it was such a release. And it's to me, for me, because you don't see me in a gym. I'm not a gym rat. I've purchased multiple gym memberships and I've never stepped foot in a gym. But I'm not a yogi. My brother is really, really into yoga and he tries to get me to go. And I said, oh, it just doesn't jive with me, but dance jives. And I think Zumba is a program that reaches everyone because anybody can do it. And it is meant to be joyful, which is quite a stretch from fitness. You go into a gym and you go on a treadmill and you're not thinking of smiling and laughing and high-fiving each other. But with Zumba, that is what it's about.
And so how many people show up to your classes now on like any given day?
On average, we have about 150. Saturdays are about between 200 and 300 on Saturdays. It's the biggest class I have.
That is incredible. Coming from 3 people to almost 200, 300 people. I mean, talk about just a confirmation of who you are and what you're doing and trusting yourself in the path that you're now on.
I'm so blessed. And what I love is I always say to everybody, listen, your jiggle is your moneymaker here because nobody told me that when I was dancing.
Yeah.
I'm like, you are divine and beautiful and gorgeous. And the more you jiggle, the better you are. So people who are, they're a little heavier are going, yes, I got this. And then the girls that are coming in all buff, they're like, oh, shoot, I'm all muscle. And I'm like, sorry, ladies. It's a little reversed in here. You got to jiggle it.
I love that.
So, yeah, it's kind of my little, getting back at the dance. But no, that's exactly what it is. So it's health from the inside, for sure.
Yeah. Well, that first class too, that you went in and you were stunned and it was so impactful for you. At that point, did you start to feel more of a connection feeling more empowered in who you are in your body and in your skin and your own strength? Or did that feeling come a little bit later in your journey?
I think it came a little bit later. I was just starting out. I should say that what was fun for me is I invited that first instructor to come to Santa Barbara this year. And she came and she co-taught a class with me. And I think she was absolutely bewildered because everybody was shaking her hand saying, thank you.
Wow.
For putting the seed in Josette and doing this. And it was just such a beautiful friendship. But yeah, I mean, I definitely fell in love with the Zumba program. I thought of anything that I'm going to stick with and be healthy with and get fit with, it's this because I want to do it every day.
And thank goodness that you had it in your life or in your peripheral when you were going through this healing journey with rheumatoid arthritis. And it sounds like, even though you couldn't move at the beginning when you were in Santa Barbara, it really helped to fuel, your passion to move again and be who you wanted to be and not settle for, the diagnosis that you were given.
Exactly. Yeah, it did. It because I think when you're feeling that transcendence, when you're in your zone, that's the only way you can shift. You can shift from the fear to, hang on, no, I'm okay. Because even though the pain was still there, there was a light that came in. And it's that shift that Zumba gave me. It gave me the possibility. It put the light in the darkness.
And you continue to choose that light and continue to chase it and have it be who you are and embody that light within. And so what do you do today to continue to live in that space, to choose that light, to connect with yourself, to, harness your inner power and strength, and you really embody that?
Well, I spend a lot of time meditating, and I don't spend much time doing anything that I don't love and doesn't make me happy. That's really been my commitment, and I've kind of molded my life around that. My husband and I are so tight and so strong now because of what we've been through, and we kind of have made a life of just beautiful things. We have horses, and we live here in Santa Barbara, and I'm constantly creating. I created a Daily Om course. A course for the Daily Om this last year, and I'm creating more courses now to help instructors teach from their heart and just kind of opening up. So I also, what's important is we're creators at the core of our being, and I think that we have to kind of continue to evolve and create and expand. So that also keeps me grounded.
I love that, because that process of creating and choosing to create and choosing to expand, it keeps life interesting, right? And allows you to keep choosing or realigning yourself with your passions and your purpose and, what you're here for. I think sometimes if we remain stagnant within what we're doing, it not only gets boring, but sometimes we lose sight, why we're here and what we're doing. And I love that creation and creating programs or creating resources or allowing yourself to be out in nature, connecting with your horses. It sounds like all of that has really helped you to stay grounded and solidify, what it is you're here for and what you want to do.
Right. And I love that you keep using the word alignment, because alignment trumps everything. If you don't start your day aligned, that's why I always kind of do my meditations in the morning.
Yeah.
From that point, that's where you take your cues from. And that's where the expansion comes from. Because if you're taking your cues from alignment, then everything is in the flow and everything becomes easy. And so that's where alignment really is. I have to say it has to be the most important thing, because that's the only way you're going to hear that voice to tell you where your next step is.
Yeah. And so for you, it sounds like that process of alignment starts in the morning, and it starts with meditation. And are there things that you do throughout the day to continue to bring yourself back to that space of alignment too?
Yes, absolutely. I have some recorded, I listen to so many masters. I mean, I go from the late Wayne Dyer to Michael Bernard Beckwith, Abraham Hicks. I mean, I have just a list of audios that I like to listen to kind of remind me, stay in alignment. And I keep them with me so that if I am in the car and I'm feeling a little off, I'll go boom, and it'll be able to shift me back.
Oh, I love that. That's so important, having those tools and those mechanisms that allow you to shift or to pivot.
Right. And it's okay. It's okay. I slip off the boat too sometimes.
Totally. Yeah. Don't we all?
And we all do. And it's okay. And that's kind of also what's part of the magic of Zumba, and especially in my class, is we all get it, that we're all in this together, and we're all slipping off, and we're all going through our journey. And it's a respect for the process and a respect for the journey. I came out the other side literally hoping to be, and I know I am for at least my son, and I know a lot of people talk to me, just to be a beacon going, look, I did this, you can too. Whatever is coming your way, whatever you're experiencing, whatever you're going through, I'm here to tell you that this isn't the end, that this is just the wake-up call.
This isn't the end. This is just the wake-up call. What an important perspective, right? To have that whatever you're going through right now is temporary, and that it is part of the journey and part of the process to get you to where you're supposed to be. This is not the end point. This could be the middle. It could be at the very beginning. We don't know, but it isn't the end point. And that's why I think it's so important to have these conversations and talk to people like you, because you really are that beacon. You do really show what's possible when you choose to connect and tune in to who you are and listen to that voice and change your life and make decisions based upon where you want to go versus where you are in that moment. And I think the more that we share that, and I just can't get over what you said, because I think it is so important. And this episode will air at literally the beginning of 2019. And so I think what a valuable mantra, maybe even, or perspective, to hold going into the new year, or really at any time.
Yep. Believe in your magic. It's there. This isn't a bunch of hogwash. This is real. This is totally real.
Totally.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned throughout your journey so far? I mean, it's by no means over, but what
Right.
would you say has been the biggest lesson or takeaway that you've had so far?
That we are all magical, that we are all divine sparks, and that many of us don't live that. But it's there, and it's always waiting for us to recognize it and listen and connect, and the best word, align with it.
I think align is the theme of this
Yeah,
conversation.
I think so too.
Inadvertently, it kind of has become the through line throughout the entire conversation. It sounds like what you do and who you are, you've really chosen to embody the joy of the life that you want to live. Are there things that you do, outside of your alignment practices or your classes or whatever it might be that bring you joy or allow you to reconnect to that feeling of joy for yourself?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I have a 10-year-old, and he's magical. He's got lucky with two parents that, he meditates every morning with me, and he's 10.
I love that.
And he carries his crystals to school, and
oh my goodness.
He tells people to not to remember they're magical. And so he lives a completely different journey than I did. And he's awesome. So just being around him is always playful and pretend. And then I have a horse that my husband rescued for me, and she dances. She's a dressage horse.
Oh.
And when I sing to her, if I'm riding her and I sing, she'll start dancing.
Wow.
So it's something and she came from an abusive home. So she and I found each other, and she is literally like the love of my life. She's so beautiful. And so and I live in Santa Barbara again. I mean, I still wake up every morning and I go, oh my gosh, this place is so extraordinary. So it's just healing living here, whether it's going to the mountains or going to the beach or just being in the community. It's just a very healing place.
I love all of that. And it is really healing. And I think connecting to that joy helps to bring about healing too. And so now you're completely in remission. You don't have rheumatoid arthritis anymore, but do you find that the healing journey still continues? Maybe it's not physical healing at this point, but are there emotional healing or mental healing or spiritual healing that you still experience or work through? Because I don't know if the healing is ever over. I
don't think it ever ends. Yes, absolutely. And some big ones, have come up for me, and it's beautiful. But now I approach things differently. I approach them when the sadness or the tears or the bringing up of the past, because they're just triggers and they're still there.
Yeah.
But now when they come, I take a step back and I can recognize that, hey, wait a second, is this a pattern that I've had, and why, and where did this ever start? And is it really who I want to be? Or am I just reacting from the person I used to be? And it's all this stuff where I can kind of dissect it so much easier than I did, 20 years ago when I was just like a total reactive bomb.
I can relate to that. Yeah.
It's just a practice, we're all, again, that's part of respecting the journey is you'll get there. Everybody gets there. And that still is my practice. I'm by no means a guru or an expert. I have my moments.
Yeah. Don't we all though? And I think that's so important to share, and that the healing journey is never over. And we're continuously tasked with moments, I think, that challenge us or continue to wake us up or show us either you're in the space that you're supposed to be in, or you can move closer to it, or having that perspective of how to approach triggers or life when it continues to show up. I think it's really important to remember that you have that choice in that moment to change how you respond, and that how you respond will continue, to really evolve too.
Right. Exactly. Beautifully said.
So what is ahead for you for 2019? What do you have? What's exciting? Because it is the start of the year. And so, so what's coming up for you in 2019?
It is exciting.
Yeah.
Well, my son, husband, and I have decided we're going to do a world tour.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know how that's going to happen because my classes are here in Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
So what I'm hoping to accomplish is to start to move around a bit and teach some master classes. I have a lot of requests Zumba instructors around the world to come and talk to them and to help them also grow their business. So back in this year, early this year, the CEO of Zumba and the founder of Zumba came out on NPR and did an interview. And during their interview, I was the only instructor they discussed. And they said, Josette is, this is what she's doing. And she's literally the most successful instructor that we've had worldwide. Wow. And I think that it hit a lot of people, and they're like, well, what are you doing? And when I tell them, I'm not doing anything that you think I should be doing. I'm doing something that means opening my heart, being vulnerable, and connecting with people on a level much deeper than just fitness. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people want to hear that, because all they're hearing is, you got to do this and you got to do this and you got to do this, right, and then you'll be successful, and it's not working. Yeah. So I'm trying to kind of get out there and speak a little bit more about, conscious business and doing what you love, but also on a deeper level. Because for me, success came when I went a little deeper, a lot deeper.
Yeah. When you decided to embrace that level of vulnerability and have that courage and share, your heart and your story that way, I think it's really beautiful just how much things started to open up. And in alignment with the theme of this conversation, you were more aligned. And that is so awesome that you're going to go out and you're going to share that with groups of people outside of Santa Barbara. That is going to be so cool.
It is. And my son wants to travel. So we haven't been able to travel because I teach 6 classes a week here, and I don't normally take a day off. So I told him, I said, well, this is the year. At 10, it's a good year to start traveling and seeing the world.
Mm-hmm. And so you teach 6 classes a week, and I didn't ask you this, but how do you maintain that level of energy and stamina teaching, 6 classes a week? Because it sounds like they're high intensity and high energy, and you give a lot of yourself and you receive a lot in return.
I wish I had the answer for you, but it's kind of one of those things. It's really easy for me. I love it. I love it. I would do it for free. I can't wait to get to class every day. So it's so easy because I love it so much.
Oh, it just goes to show when you're living your truth and your purpose and your passion, it just doesn't even feel like work. It is just the thing that you do that lights you up, that happens to allow you to live your life the way that you want to.
Yeah. I mean, it's like musicians. I don't think if you ask a musician or a singer when they're singing on stage, was it really hard work? They're loving it. They're in their zone. And that's why, and it's the same with what I do. I just absolutely love it.
Oh, so I have to ask you the question I ask everybody that comes on Seek the Joy podcast, which is, what is your biggest dream?
Ooh, gosh, but it shifts all the time. And right now, I would have to say my biggest dream is to live the life and the legacy that I intended when I came here, and to be the grandest version of who I came here to be, and not the tiniest ones, because we do have a tendency, and especially me, I'm overcoming this, is to stand in that power of that divine spark that we all are, and really dream big and really come out and do what we came here to do. So I know there's a lot for me to do here, and I feel like I'm just starting, even though I'm turning 50 in 2019.
No.
But and I know. I'm like, oh, what? Dear, I'm not ready for that.
No, it's just a number. It's just a number.
It's just a number. My son has, he's a Harry Potter fan, and he has carved his own wand, and he has magically put me back to 30. So I said, I'll take it. Yeah. I'm good. So we're just going with that. But just to live the life that the purposeful life that I came here to live.
Yeah, to really embody that, right? And to embody it to the fullest extent, and not allow yourself to play small or be small. And listen, it doesn't sound like you've allowed yourself to stay in that small space at all. And especially with this world tour you're going to do in 2019. And Josette, this has just been so much fun having you on Seek the Joy podcast. I feel like we could talk for forever, so we'll have to do this again. But I'm so grateful. Where can everybody find you? And if they are in Santa Barbara or want to come to Santa Barbara and take one of your classes, where can they find you and really learn more?
Oh, thank you so much, by the way, for having me. It's been
Of
such an
course,
honor. And
yeah.
we could talk forever. It's kind of like that girl thing. We could just
Yeah,
keep going and
totally.
going and going. I'm online, www.josettetkacik.com. You can find me I'm on Twitter and Instagram. Instagram handle is the same, at Josette Tkacik. And in Zumba, you can find me on Zumba.com. As an instructor in Santa Barbara, and that lists all my classes as well.
Awesome. Perfect. And I'll include everything in the show notes, so it'll be super easy to find you. And Josette, this was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your healing journey and just the gift I think that it really was to you in your life, and just the beautiful alignment that you're in now. And I'm just so grateful. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
This was such a fun conversation to have, and I'm so thrilled and grateful that Josette came on Seek the Joy podcast to really share her healing journey with us, but to really also share with us just what a catalyst joy and passion is and can be for our healing. And that the more that we connect to that joy, the more that we seek the joy, right, in our lives, we can really begin to heal from the inside out. So whether it's an emotional healing, a physical healing, whatever it might be, the more that we follow those breadcrumbs of what we love and what we enjoy, the more we grow, the more we transform. And so it was really beautiful to hear Josette's journey and her experiences and her reflections. And honestly, guys, I cannot wait to take one of her classes. I know I shared this in the episode, but my friend Julie introduced me to Josette, and I honestly cannot wait to go up to Santa Barbara to take one of her classes. So have you been to one of Josette's classes? And if so, let me know what the experience was like. Send me an email, write to me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. I've seen videos and I've heard from my friend Julie about what the experience is like, but I need to experience this for myself. So Josette, thank you so much again for coming on the podcast. And guys, if you want to support Seek the Joy podcast and support my work on this show, I would be so grateful. The best way to do that is to share your favorite episode or this episode or just the podcast with your friends and your family, or even on your social media pages. Make sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. We are also on Patreon, and I've included the link to our Patreon page in the show notes. And make sure to connect with us on our social media pages. We are at Seek the Joy podcast everywhere. I would love to connect with you and get to know you and really continue to grow this community and create more connections. And I think that's it. I think that's all I've got. I'm excited for 2019. I hope you guys have a really wonderful rest of your week and a great start to this new year. And I think that's it. I think that's all I got. I love you guys. Thank you again for being here. And I will see you right back here next week for another Seek the Joy Tuesday.